Good evening, it is 5 p.m. and this is Today in YGK on CFRC 101.9 FM, broadcasting from Lower Carruthers Hall on Queen's Campus in Kingston, Ontario. Today in YGK is brought to you by your CFRC News Collective, Ara McCauley, Jessie Bell, and Jenny Hinch. CFRC's news programming is made possible by the generous support of the Community Radio Fund of Canada, the Local Journalism Initiative, Queen's University Career Services, and for our podcasts, Smith Engineering at Queen's University. I'm CFRC's broadcast journalist Ara McCauley, and here are your local news headlines. As wildfires continue to spread across Canada and Eastern Ontario recovers from last month's prolonged smoke-related poor air quality effects, a newly released report from World Weather Attribution, a team of researchers from several institutions including the Centre for Environmental Policy and the Red Cross Red Crescent Climate Centre, is highlighting the impact of climate change on Canada's environment, safety and health. The group is raising the alarm over the fact that across Canada, approximately 94% of the total area burned this season occurred during a 5-week period between the end of June and end of July, fueled by extreme heat, dry conditions and strong winds, with further fires sparked by lightning storms. Although the 2026 wildfire season, which starts on April 1st in Ontario, began slow, above-average temperatures and dry weather in late June and through July has resulted in 687 fires to date, already a 55% increase over 2025, which saw 442 wildfires and well above the 10-year average of 481 fires in the province. Extreme heat is a growing concern, and the City of Kingston declared July 15th Extreme Heat Awareness Day this year after a proposal from a local chapter of Seniors for Climate Action Now brought further attention to the issue locally. According to the Canadian Wildland Fire Information System, nearly 3.9 million hectares of wildland have burned during this year's wildfire season, prompting the Government of Canada to institute National Preparedness Level 4, indicating wildland fire behaviour is significant, the demand for resources is high through the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, and the potential for emerging significant wildland fires is expected to continue or increase the demand on resources. While the KF-LNA region has experienced relief from the significant smoke experienced last month, forecasts caution that another warm, dry spell is on the horizon, meaning the potential for more wildfire smoke making its way to Kingston is still high. The World Weather Attribution worked with scientists from Canada, the US, and Europe to complete the report, which also highlighted the disproportionate impact of fires on Indigenous communities, who tend to be overrepresented in wildfire areas and often situated in remote communities, which makes evacuation more challenging. The threat of wildfire and the need to evacuate has both physical and mental health impacts on those living in threatened areas, while devastation of forest area disrupts access to hunting grounds and areas of cultural significance. Even in more urban areas, the threat of fire to properties and to public health is high, especially as resources are stretched thin. Smoke from the fires can travel over hundreds of kilometers and cause severe and often delayed health impacts. According to the WWA report, exposure to elevated concentrations of wildfire smoke has been associated with increased emergency healthcare use, particularly from respiratory and cardiovascular conditions ranging from difficulty breathing to cardiac arrest, as well as increases in all-cause mortality. The report points to human-induced climate change, saying it has increased both the likelihood and intensity of the weather conditions at the time of fires. Research in 2023 found that Quebec's severe start to the fire season was made 7 times more likely due to human-caused climate change, and the WWA states that a growing body of peer-reviewed research has established that climate change is driving the increasing severity of extreme Canadian fire seasons, with a 1.4-degree increase in temperature making the likelihood of rapidly developing and spreading fires 3.5 times more likely. The report encourages Canada to sustain an effective response through the remainder of the fire season through interagency coordination, flexible deployment of personnel and equipment across jurisdictions, and ensuring sufficient surge capacity to respond to new large fires without compromising ongoing operations. Looking forward, they recommend an integrated risk management approach, including incorporating future fire risk into timber harvest allocations and improving forest resilience after fires occur by diversifying with less flammable tree species. 137 fires are active in Northeast and Northwest Ontario as of today, with 18 forest fires in Northwest Ontario considered not under control at this time. Across Canada, 638 fires are now active, with 124 deemed out of control. The Southeast Public Health Region suggests the following advice to protect yourself during poor air quality events. Everyone is at risk for health impacts related to poor air quality. However, health risks are greatest for infants and children, older adults, those living in high air pollution areas, people living with chronic illnesses such as asthma, diabetes, heart or lung diseases, people who are pregnant, people who are underhoused or experiencing homelessness, people who work outdoors, or people participating in strenuous sports and outdoor activities. If you are experiencing symptoms such as increased coughing, throat irritation, headaches, or shortness of breath, consider reducing or rescheduling strenuous outdoor activity until the air quality improves. As smoke levels rise, so do health risks. Take protective measures to protect yourself and others from the effects of wildfire smoke. Reduce or reschedule strenuous activities outdoors, especially if you experience symptoms such as coughing and throat irritation. When indoors, keep windows and doors closed as much as possible. Protect your indoor air from wildfire smoke by using a clean, high-quality air filter in your ventilation system and/or a certified portable air cleaner that can filter fine particles. If you must spend time outdoors, a well-fitting NIOSH certified N95 respirator or equivalent may help reduce your exposure to harmful fine particles. Masks can reduce your exposure to the fine particles in smoke, but do not reduce exposure to gases. Watch for symptoms of smoke exposure. Mild and common symptoms of smoke exposure include sore and watery eyes, runny nose and sinus irritation, scratchy throat and mild coughing, and headache. Severe symptoms of smoke exposure include shortness of breath, wheezing, including asthma attacks, severe coughing, dizziness, chest pains, and heart palpitations. Seek medical attention if you develop severe symptoms. The City of Kingston is reminding Kingston residents interested in municipal office to file nominations before the August 21st deadline. Kingston voters will elect a mayor, district councillors, and school board trustees on Monday, October 26, 2026. Candidate nominations will close at 2 p.m. on Friday, August 21st. The city encourages potential candidates to book an appointment to file nomination papers to ensure time and staff are available to complete the process. To qualify as a candidate, you must be a Canadian citizen, be at least 18 years of age, live in Kingston or own or rent property in Kingston, or be married to someone who does, and not be prevented from voting by any law. Individuals interested in running for office can find information about nominations requirements, candidate responsibilities, and important dates on Get Involved Kingston or at cityofkingston.ca/election. All residents are also encouraged to visit registertovoteon.ca before August 12th to confirm, update, or add your name to the voters list in advance of the 2026 municipal election. Starting in September, residents will be able to do so on the city website, and registering as soon as possible will ensure you are ballot ready. That wraps up your headlines for this evening. Next up is Jessie Bell with your CFRC Sports Desk.
This is part 8 of your OUA football season preview, brought to you by CFRC Power Plays. Today we'll be discussing the Guelph Griffins, an immensely talented team that struggled to stay healthy in 2025. They kind of reminded me of the 2024 Queen's Gales, and by that I mean it's an exciting team with high expectations that were undone by bad luck, but not before tallying a wild upset on the road against an imposing opponent. Guelph with Western, Queens in 2024 with Windsor. Now in 2025, Guelph had all the tools they needed to succeed. They played Laurier tight in Week 1, got overwhelmed by Western in Week 2, and then bounced back to beat Windsor in Week 3. They lost a close one to Ottawa, and then they were blindsided by one of the biggest upsets of the year as they lost to McMaster on the road to drop to 1-4. I had Guelph finishing 6-2 in 2025, and here they are at 1-4, but they would rebound to beat Carleton thanks to a 4-interception day from defensive back Gianni Green, before falling to Queens at their own homecoming. So Guelph, they are 2-5. They are on the outside looking in, and they would have to beat a scrappy York team to make the playoffs, where they would, 1 week later, shock the world on the road with an 18-17 victory over Western, knocking the Mustangs out of the OUA playoffs in the quarterfinals. Guelph would nearly repeat this feat the following week against Laurier with a frantic final quarter comeback that ended about 50 yards short. It is probably the most eventful 4-6 season ever. Let's take a look at their 2025 stats. They were 4th in points for with 236, that is 29.5 points per game. They were 4th in total yards with 3,723, which is about 493 yards per game. They were, surprisingly, 7th in total passing yards with 2,327, but 2nd in total rushing yards with 1,618, which is about 202 yards per game. So this passing offense, which I thought was going to be one of the best in the country, I think due to injuries, they could never just fully get rolling. The defense finished 6th in total points allowed with 240, which is about 30 points per game. They finished 5th in pass yards allowed per game with 289.9, and 2nd in rush yards per game with 133.8, 5th overall in total yards per game with 423.6. So, kind of a middling defense in terms of points allowed, but an excellent unit against the run and pass. But you may have noticed they gave up more points per game than they scored, which means they actually had a negative point differential of -4, which puts them at 6th in the conference. This is what I'm saying. What a bizarre season. This is a team that, at times, was fantastic, nearly knocked off Laurier a week after knocking off Western, and they did so with a negative point differential. This is kind of reflective of their last 5 seasons in general. In 2021, they went 3-3, but they beat Western in the regular season. In 2022, they had one of the most random 1-7 seasons ever, completely bottoming out. 2023, they build a bit of momentum, finish 3-5. 2024, they go 6-2, they look great. And then 2025, they swing back down to 3-5 and just narrowly, barely by the skin of their teeth, make it into the playoffs. So what do we expect in 2026? Honestly, who knows? It's boom or bust. Guelph does have a lot of returning playmakers. They lost a ton of experienced guys from the offensive line. They still have 2 great quarterbacks in Tristan Aboud and Marshall McCray. Aboud more of your traditional pocket passer, and McCray a great dual threat player. But McCray was used in the slot during the East-West Bowl, and he looked great. So he may not be playing quarterback in 2026. He might be a gadget guy. It might be like how they use Russell Weir on the Queen's offense. Now, if Guelph can stay healthy, they will be dangerous. Their defense has great athletes, and for the most part, played up to the potential last year. Their special teams unit struggled, especially in comparison to years past. They had a rookie kicker from Kingston, Trey Thompson, who missed some big kicks, but also was responsible for the Rouge that beat Western. Like I said, boom or bust. Now Guelph, they do have a fairly light schedule in 2026. They have a very interesting Week 1 game against the New Look Laurier Golden Hawks. After that, they've got 5 winnable games against McMaster, Carleton, Ottawa, Waterloo, and Toronto, before closing out the season with slugfests against Queens and Windsor. Now, I've got Guelph going 6-2, with their only losses coming at the tail end of the season to the Gales and the Lancers. I think they're going to be a top 4 team in 2026. But just bear in mind, I also thought that was going to be the case in 2025, and once again, they finished 3-5 and just barely got into the playoffs. So, with Guelph, I really, truly could not give you a great read on what's going on, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them.
That's a wrap for your sports report. Coming up next, I've got your traffic and weather reports for the City of Kingston. This is your City of Kingston traffic report. Cranbrook Street from Lakeview Avenue to Days Road is closed for pedestrian improvements. Bath Road from Sir John A. Macdonald Boulevard to Portsmouth Avenue. Expect delays for the installation of intersection pedestrian signals. The city is installing these IPS at the following intersections: Bath Road at LaFleur Park, Concession Street at Kings Court Avenue, and Stephen Street at Patrick Street. Wright Crescent at Palace Road to Palace Road. Closed for a contractor to complete roadway repairs, pedestrian safety and access improvements, and traffic calming features on Wright Crescent. Norman Rogers Drive from Sir John A. Macdonald Boulevard to Van Order Drive. Started on June 15th, and Norman Rogers Drive is still closed to through traffic to facilitate roadway rehabilitation and configuration improvements. This work will improve road condition, accessibility, and safety for all road users. The City of Kingston and Utilities Kingston are in the midst of a major reconstruction of Princess Street. This infrastructure project includes upgrades to underground and above-ground utilities, as well as improvements to enhance safety and comfort for pedestrian and cyclists. Berry Street from Queen is closed for construction-related activity at 283 Queen Street, and Aberdeen Street from Johnson to William is closed to accommodate construction activity and staging. This is your Environment Canada weather report for the Kingston region. We begin with Monday, August 10th. 24 is your high with an 88% chance of precipitation, including a high likelihood of a afternoon thunderstorm. Tuesday, August 11th. 24 is your high, feeling closer to 28, quite humid, and a UV index of 8 with a 55% chance of rain, but just a quick shower right around 1 millimeter or so. Wednesday, August 12th, 24 is your high with a 49% chance of precipitation, mix of sun and cloud, feeling closer to 27. Thursday, August 13th, 24 is your high with a 71% chance of precipitation, about 1.5 millimeters all told. Friday, August 14th, 24 degrees is your high, mix of sun and cloud, otherwise a beautiful day here in the City of Kingston. And then kicking off the weekend, Saturday, August 15th, 22 is your high, feeling closer to 25, but quite a cloudy day here in the City of Kingston, UV index of 6. Sunday, August 16th, 23 is your high with a chance of precipitation throughout the day, mostly in the mid-morning, about 2.5 millimeters of rain altogether. Monday, August 17th, 23 is your high, feeling closer to 24, clouds with periods of sunshine, otherwise a beautiful day. That's a wrap for sports, traffic, and weather. Coming up next, we have Genevieve Hinch with CFRC's concert and events calendar.
Hello Kingston, and welcome back to CFRC 101.9 FM. Broadcasting from Kingston, Ontario, I'm CFRC's Community News and Arts Coordinator Jenny, and this is your weekly events and concerts calendar brought to you by Flying V Productions. Whether you're looking for live music, community events, markets, workshops, or something fun to do around the city, there is lots happening this week, so let's get into it. Starting off Monday, grab lunch at Cafe Franglais and get creative at Craft and Create at the Central Library. Or test your knowledge at Trivia Night at Something in the Water. Live music includes Natalie and Dave at the RCHA Club, the Lucky Ones at the Cove Inn, the Cataraqui Chamber Music Festival at the Sphere, and the Morning Doves at Musiki. On Tuesday, get moving with Chair Fitness and check out the ASL workshop, catch Nuts at the Tet Center, or dance the evening away at Salsa in the Square. Live music includes the Cataraqui Chamber Music Festival, Tom Savage at the RCHA Club, Brian Bryn and Gary Finn at the Cove Inn, and Ricky Brandt's open mic at Musiki. Wednesday features games in the Square, Swinging Summer at the City Hall Amphitheater, trivia, karaoke, euchre, Eunice Versus' third solo drag show. Live music includes Taryn McKenna, Vince DeBeal, Sean McCullen, Quentin Courtry, Christopher Jackson, Wayne Riley's open mic, and lots more happening Wednesday. On Thursday, browse the Kingston Public Market, bring the kids to Stories in the Square, get creative with Bring Your Own Craft or the Felt Mushroom Craft, or catch the Peanuts movie in Springer Market Square. There's also Queen's Family Night, trivia, and drag bingo. Live music includes Grevin and Allie McCormick, Bentley McKegney, J.S. Miller, the Luke Vassar Trio, Jeff Dunn, and the Friendly Frogs Freak Show with the Ratskin Family Band. Friday includes Spanish conversation sessions, a scrapbook and cards class at the Tet Center, Kicking It Country, and karaoke. Music highlights include the Smoking Roosters, Mellow Lily, Dead Root Revival, and the Cataraqui Chamber Music Festival. Heading into Saturday, check out the Kingston Public Market, Farm Fair, the Mini Market Series, chef demos, the Ironwood Fantasy Fair, Saturday session, or refuel at Cultivate Art Commons. Live music includes the Oscar Evans Bands, Music Westport, Three's Company, John McClurg, River Cats, Squid Pistol, Thomas Draper, and Jessica Wallowich, Sweet Cheetah, Powderfinger, The Oreos, and Jake Toes. Wrapping things up Sunday, head to the Memorial Center Farmers Market, yoga in Battery Park, jazz brunch at Black Dog, or the summer BBQ and bocce at the Italio Canadian Club. Music includes the Back to the Farm Beer and Music Festival, Head Over Heels, Chantel Thompson, Wayne Riley, and live band karaoke with the Oreos. That is your weekly events and concerts calendar for August 10th through the 16th. For more information on any of these events, visit the CFRC website and keep it locked right here on CFRC 101.9 FM. This events calendar is brought to you by Flying Bee Productions, bringing live theater, comedy, and unforgettable entertainment to audiences all across Kingston. I'm Jenny. Thanks for listening and have a great week, Kingston.
Thank you for tuning in to CFRC's local news programming. To revisit episodes of Today in YGK and listen on the go, be sure to head to our podcast network at podcast.cfrc.ca. Today in YGK is brought to you by the generous support of the Community Radio Fund of Canada, the Local Journalism Initiative, Queen's University Career Services, and for our podcast, Smith Engineering at Queen's University. Be sure to stay tuned for more CFRC programming coming up next.
Thank you for listening to this podcast produced at CFRC 101.9 FM at Queen's University in Kingston, Ontario, situated on the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe and Haudenosaunee peoples, and brought to you by the generous support of Smith Engineering.